to this week's interesting program. I'm Dr. Gigi, and my co-host is, as always, Jacques Kepner. How are you today on your birthday?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Doc and Jacques radio variety show. Thank you for that, Doctor. I don't need to be reminded of my age, though.
Nope, just saying it's your birthday.
It's okay. It feels good.
Hi, everyone. Paul Kritz here, and this episode of The One They Couldn't Catch is something special. In March of this year, Bobby and I appeared on a radio program in Brookings, Oregon, not far up the coast from where Bobby lives. The station is KCIW Curry Coast Community Radio. They've been doing good work on the southern Oregon coast for more than a decade. Check them out. Give them a like and a listen at kciw.org sometime. The show Bobby and I were on is a weekly talk show hosted by Jacques Kepner and his partner, Dr. Gigi Reed. They cover all manner of community issues, events, and interests on their weekly Doc and Jacques live talk show. And one week in March, Bobby's story was the focus. And that's this episode. The hour Bobby and I spent talking with Doc and Jacques about our book and Bobby's career as the one they couldn't catch. Enjoy.
If you will please put up with me for just 2 more minutes, I appreciate it, because I want you to picture a time before GPS, before cell phones, before the sky and the sea were stitched together by satellites and surveillance, when the art of smuggling was based on luck and unconventional logic. A time when a person with nerve, instinct, and a taste for risk could slip through the cracks of a system that was still growing and learning how to close them. In the 1970s, 80s, and into the early 90s, Robert Bobby Brewer lived in that space. His world stretched from the jungles of Central America to the deserts of Mexico, across open ocean, and into quiet American coves before dawn. He moved where maps ended and rumors began. He would fly low enough to skim treetops, navigating by stars and gut, landing on dirt strips that disappeared with the morning light. By sea, he read the waves like a second language, outrunning storms, and often something far more dangerous. On land, Robert could blend into crowds like a chameleon, hiding the high stakes and consequences of his covert movements. Law enforcement chased shadows. Brewer became one of those shadows, earning a reputation as the one they couldn't catch. Not because he was invisible, but because he understood timing, trust, and when, I suppose, to walk away. His life is a string of near misses, narrow escapes, and decisions made in seconds that could have cost him everything. But stories like this don't stay buried forever. Enter our second guest today, Paul Kritz, an intrepid listener, a man who has chronicled much of life and learning with astute clarity and reason. Today, these two gentlemen will not just be telling us stories about smuggling, but more about brazen adventure filled with risk, consequences, and a life lived on the edge of a line few dared to cross. So that's enough verbiage from me. Let's get into it. Welcome, Paul Kritz and Bobby Brewer, to the Doc and Jacques radio show.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Right.
Wow.
Nice to be here.
Pretty
Thank you, guys.
Cool preamble there, birthday boy.
I know. That was pretty good. Happy birthday, Jacques.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll start with Bobby Brewer. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Los Angeles, California, 1943, and raised in Playa del Rey.
Which is by
Which is on the coast of Los Angeles. It's just south of where Marina del Rey is today.
Okay, very cool.
I watched them build Marina del Rey.
Nice. What brought you here to this super lovely area?
I came up here in 1993 to go shrimp fishing. I was a commercial fisherman, and I had gotten back after dealing with the government. Didn't work out well. Took one of my fishing boats back, and the boy I wanted to get to run it for me, I went and talked to him about it, and he said he'd do it if we come to Northern California and fish pink shrimp so he could make some money. And it took me 5 seconds to say, let's go.
Right on.
Because I'd been up here when I was 20 years old hunting for a couple of weeks, and I just loved it. And I always thought, I want to go live in Northern California. I did.
So you have been here since 93, basically?
Yes. Oh. I moved here in 1993.
Very cool. Paul Kritz, where
Yes.
were you born and raised?
I was born in Fresno, California. Grew up in the San Joaquin Valley.
And when did you get close to here?
Close to here. My father moved up to Del Norte County in 1980, and so I spent summers and vacations and things here, and then knew when I had a family and wanted to raise kids that I wanted to do it up here. So
Right on.
moved back up here full-time 2000. Yeah, 2000.
25 years ago. That's what it's. How's Jerry?
He's doing well. He's moved. He's down living with his wife. They're in a facility, an old folks home in Santa Ana,
Wow.
in Southern California.
Okay.
Yeah. He just turned 81.
From Gasky to Santa Ana?
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
it Gasky? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
All right, the California side of the
very
border. All right, Doc.
So we heard about the preamble of
Which was very well done, Jacques.
yes,
Thank you.
he
That was
did a
very
good
good.
job. Now tell us, in other words, in your words, how did you first meet and what
Yeah.
brought you together?
I was treated very poorly by the Del Norte County Sheriff's Department, the district attorney's office up here. I married the ex-district attorney's ex-girlfriend. But anyway, yeah.
It's not a good
beside
way.
the point.
Not a good story.
And then what happened?
Oh, when I went to meet Paul, I was just, after 28 years or 30 years of being called a gangster, and I've never been a gangster. I've never hurt anybody in my life like that. I wouldn't do that. That's the last. I'm just the opposite. I'm the guy that
Gangster
will.
is a bad guy, right? And-
Yeah.
Okay.
But was I an outlaw? Yeah, for a while. But what I did was smuggle marijuana.
Okay. When did that start?
In 1972, June of 1972,
And it ended.
in February 3rd, 1993.
That is 21 years
21
of my
years.
calculations.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good quarter of somebody's life, right?
Yeah.
So when you met with Paul Kritz, does that, and he's chronicling, writing it up now? Are you working together?
So this was in October of 2024. Bobby shows up, and I'm on the air on
84.
KFUG.
Yeah.
Did I say
Oh,
2024?
24. Yeah. No,
I was on the air on KFUG, and this guy pulls up and I see him pull in, so I get up and I go outside because I think Jessica was doing something on the radio, and I didn't want somebody walking into our studio, and so I go walking out, and Bobby's there, and he wanted to talk to me because he said, "You're the media in this area, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And I got a story for you, and I can't tell you in my life how many times I've been approached by people who had a story for me, and I didn't have any time then to deal with it. And I'm like, here's another one. I said, come back tomorrow when I've got an hour and we can sit and talk. He did. He came back, and after that initial hour, I'd agreed to help write the book because the story he told was amazing, and the beginning of it was his he wanted to do something about what he felt was like mistreatment from local law enforcement. This reputation had followed him north, and he was being mistreated. Bobby had at one point talked to a lawyer, and the lawyer had said, going through everything, I don't know how much actionable things we have here, but why don't you write a book? That's the first thing to do, write your story. And so he came to talk to me about that. And after hearing his story that first hour the next day, I'm like, okay, yeah, let's write this thing, because it's an amazing story.
I was just going to ask you that question. Was it a slow progression of finding out about Bobby's story?
Nope.
But you said within 1 hour, the chemistry was there. It was like, boom, we got to get this down.
And yeah. And so then what happens is a lot of those concerns with local law enforcement kind of took a back seat, and we ended up writing his memoir. And we're done. We're pitching it. We're pitching it to publishers, and we have a podcast that I want to be sure to mention every chance we can. There's a podcast that we're putting out to help promote the book.
Yeah.
And what is the podcast?
Podcast is also called As the Book Is, The One They Couldn't Catch.
Right.
And it tells Bobby's story and sort of follows in an expanded form the narrative arc of the book.
The One They Couldn't Catch.
So tell us the beginning of 72, not to give away the whole book story.
Well, yeah, spoiler, he lives. but not without some luck.
And actually, for 82, 83, you look great, man.
Oh, I'm in good shape, except my legs. I had to have the hip replaced about 5 years ago now, and I didn't walk for 2 years. And I'm just getting my legs back now. It's time to get the muscles back again.
Very cool. So, we're back in 1972.
Okay.
What happened?
I a friend that I had met at Technicolor. I was a studio projectionist. I was working at Technicolor Corporation. And this kid came to work for us. He was from up in Utah. His name was Terry Lurcher. And he was you never get into the studio projection is impossible to get a job as because it's full up. You have to be born into it.
Yeah.
Because you get paid twice what you do in the theaters and whatnot. It's a real good.
It was a good old-fashioned 20th century union job.
Yep. And I made more money at that age than almost all my friends did.
And you're in L.A. at this time.
And I'm in L.A. living there. But anyway, he came in. He came to work there. I could go into an hour on how he got there. But anyway, he came to work there. He didn't last long because he couldn't hold a job.
But he comes in from Utah.
And I said, he was a nice guy. I said, hey, come on down to my boat. And it turns out he was learning to fly. He was thinking about the same place I had, and another friend of mine we'll get into later had. Gunnell Aviation at Santa Monica Airport. But Terry came down to my sailboat with me, and we sat around, and I said, have you ever smoked marijuana? He said, no, but I'd sure like to. And so I rolled him up a joint, and we sat there and smoked it. And most people, when they first smoke pot, don't get high the first time. I mean, I didn't. But not Terry. After about 20 minutes, he's curled up in the corner saying, I've discovered a whole new world. And boy, had he. He became a biker.
Good Mormon guy turned biker. I like this already. This is good. LDS to Hell's Angels.
What's the LDS? You don't know.
He wasn't around long. What?
Oh, because of Utah. He's saying because of Utah.
Yeah, because of Utah, where the LDS.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what any of that. He was a Yahoo. Throw it all to the wind, go for it. And the stories. Anyway, he came down and he got into it. He was gone a couple of weeks later from Technicolor, and I didn't see him again until my girlfriend and I one Saturday were sitting on the sailboat, and here comes Terry. Hi, what you doing? Da-da-da. He's got a kilo of cocaine.
No, it was pot.
Pot. What am I thinking? Coke? I don't know. Kilo of pot. Kilos are always cocaine, you know. But he had this kilo of pot that weighed about 1.8 pounds. And that was this Mexican stuff that came in those days. It was in different color cellophane. But this was blue, I think. Anyway, he gave me $70. So I gave it to him and sold it to my friends in 3 days. Ooh, at $10 a piece, $180. Ooh, what a deal. And a couple of weeks later, Terry showed up again. 2 kilos this time.
Oh, my God.
I bought him from him, and then he said, the guy I get this from said, you fly, don't you? And I said, yeah. And he said, if you brought a plane down there, he could fill it up. What do you want to do? And I thought, well, I don't know what to do with a plane full of pot. I mean, a couple of kilos, one thing I sell to my friends, but I don't know what to do with that. But I had a friend that might. And so I said, I don't know, but I'll let you know. And I called my friend Pete. Actually, did I call him? No, I went out there the next day and talked to him. He lived out in the valley, in San Fernando Valley, and I lived out in Marina del Rey in L.A. But I went out to his place and told him what the deal was. He said, how well you know him? He just kind of this. He said, well, why don't you go down with him and meet the connection, then come back and see me?
Oh, my God.
And I said, cool. So my girlfriend and I and Terry and his girlfriend went down to San Luis, Mexico the following weekend, went down and met Javier, this connection he had.
So you flew down on your...
No, we drove down.
Oh, you drove
down.
down.
Yeah, we just drove down, the four of us, two
Los
couples.
Angeles is down there.
Yeah, 2 couples going to Mexico for the weekend. We went down there. He's a nice guy, nice to the girls. He took us out and showed us the airstrip. And I looked around and thought, I can do this. And so Terry that night was spinning at a place called El Golfo de Santa Clara. If you look on the chart, it's right at the top of Gulf of California. We went there and stayed in. There was nothing there then. Now I think it's a community. But he was doing 60-mile-an-hour donuts on the beach with us in the car. And the girls were scared the crap out of all of us. I couldn't wait to get home. And coming through customs, coming back, they pulled us into secondary. And the customs officer came up to me and I said, listen, I just want to get away from this idiot. And told him what he was up to. And I think Monique did too. And the guy kind of laughed and said, okay. And they let us go. So off we go. We're on the north side of the border now driving along. And Terry says, boy, I'm sure I'm glad I didn't find the gun and the stuff I have underneath.
Oh, my God.
You what? Sure enough, and they hadn't. They hadn't. He had a gun and a bunch of pills and stuff under the bumper or something. I don't remember. Anyway, I went back and told Pete about it. I said, this guy seems cool, but Terry, he said, yeah, Pete. We ended up giving Terry $5,000 for the connection. But Pete was racing his sailboat in the Ensenada race in a couple of weeks. So he sailed it down to Ensenada. I picked him up, and he and I together went over. He wanted to meet Javier, and we went over and showed us where to go. And Pete thought, yeah, this is okay, too. So we decided to do it. So we came back. I checked out in the Cessna 210, and we got ready to go, and we went and did it. Pete went down.
So he's on a boat. You brought that first?
Pete went down the first. No, the boat was back. They were back by now. We just drove down. And what he did was he drove down in this dune buggy. First time he went down with a car. And the first flight I went. And I went down and was going to meet him in Mexico at the Strip. We'd both been down there with Javier, and he showed us where it was. Cool. Okay. What's the big deal? What do you need for lights? Oh, just put some flashlights or shine the lights of the car right down the Strip. I'll just come in, land over the car, and land in the lights.
Oh, my gosh. So
that's what I said, and that's what we did. Thing is, I got that I'd never flown a 210 before or a constant speed prop airplane before. I went and checked out at Van Nuys in a Cessna 210, and I had my pilot's license and all.
You couldn't YouTube at that time?
Yeah, right. You can't look it up. You got it.
Yeah. So I went out and I rented the 210, went out and got it just as getting the evening and flew it down to San Luis, topped it off and everything. Off we went. And I just flew straight down there, and I got down there, and it was after dark when I got down there. And I tried to find him, and I looked, I looked for a half hour, maybe a little more.
Circling around.
Circling in the dark, 100 feet, 200 feet off the ground, looking for him in the moonlight. And all of a sudden, off the distance, I see these little car lights. I thought, I hope that's him. Sure enough, it was. So I made a low pass over it and said, okay, set it up, put the lights on. So he put the lights down this runway, and
the rest is history.
We're just now to the start of the book. Actually, this is the moment the book begins.
Oh my God!
I come around the first time. I come in over those car lights. Want to know how fast you lose car lights coming over and to land in an airplane?
Wow, in the dark.
Snap! If they're gone, you're in the dark. There is no lights down, and your nose is up in the air because you're
landing. The plane doesn't have lights. You don't have lights on the plane?
Yeah, but the light's pointing up in the air. You're coming in. See, when you flare, you're coming in slow and with the.
It took me a minute to get all that together too, but the nose comes up, so the light's not shining on it.
I came over that the first time I came over and went right into the black. I said, "No way, man!" I poured power to it and came around. I made another go around, but I thought, well, he's down there. I said, I'm going to do it. I got on the walkie-talkie. I was coming in this time. Put the walkie-talkie down, and I steeled myself. I didn't like doing this, but I said I was going to do it. I came in over that car as low as I could and landed into a big black hole.
Wow.
Dang.
And
with the rented plane.
Yeah, in a rented plane.
That too. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, in a rented plane. And Paul really has it in the book, what he put in. It hit it right on the button. I was waiting for the wheels to find the ground. When they did, the nose came down. And here comes the end of the runway at me, 30 or 40 yards ahead at 60 to 65 miles an hour, and I'm in an airplane.
Wow.
All I did was hit left rudder, went around 3 of them, left rudder, brake, right rudder, brake, left, and you don't have time to think, you just react.
The 3 of them he's talking about are these mounds.
Big mounds of
sand.
And I went around 3 of them and came to a stop because of the sand was so deep and the small tires and me braking and turning, it slowed me real quick. And I came to a stop. I'm sitting there in the desert, prop going around in front of me, and the plane's still in one piece. Wow. But you don't have time to worry about it. You got something to do. So I spun around and followed my tracks in the sand back to the hard spot. And here comes Pete in the car with these guys. One of them almost ran into the propeller. But he caught himself just in time. It was sitting there spinning. You can't see it at nighttime like that. And but we got it in. We threw 3 bags into the back of the plane. Pete jumped in and said, "Let's go." Well, I poured the power to it. Now, we were supposed to be on an 1,800-foot strip. But we weren't. Pete had put us in the wrong place. We were on about 800 feet. That's why when I came over and landed, I thought I just landed long. That's why I went off the runway. I had no idea we had 800 feet, not 1,800 feet.
Oh, my gosh, to take off, right?
I took off into thinking I had 1,800 feet, and there was a flashlight up at the end of the runway. I had them leave there so you don't wobble off, so you can aim right at that light. I mean, it's not like you're on an airport. You're out in the middle of someplace. You don't want to go off the side. And when I got to that light, I wasn't going fast. I was going 55 or 60, and you should be going 70 to get off in a 210. I had no choice. I just janked us into the air, and we got up and started, and I just kind of jacked us into the air until we a little forward, a little more, a little almost stalled, a little more, and it took about 5-6 seconds, and all of a sudden we were clean. I reached down, picked up the gear, and boom, we started for the States. 185 miles an hour, 150 feet off the ground.
Oh, my
in the moonlight. Wow. We started zipping along, and he describes it perfectly in the book. All of a sudden, the desert turns into farmland up by the... All these guys work their farms at nighttime because it's 115 in the daytime. It's only 105 at night. And I'm 150. I'm flying along, and I look down. This guy in a tractor waves at me. I wave back. We get to the border, and I look up ahead, and here's a car with a searchlight scanning across the canal. It's Border Patrol. This is the border. I didn't know it. You can't tell exactly from there. But inside the border, about a mile, there's some of those high-tension wires with red lights on top of them, the big ones. Oh. And you had to get up a little higher to go over that. I did. But so I knew about where I was. And I look and I see these lights up ahead. And, and there's this a spotlight. We went right over the top of that car at 185 miles an hour, 150 feet over the top of it. It was a Border Patrolman.
Oh, my
Right
God.
over the top of it. And you put it in the book. I remember thinking, oh, well, cars can't fly. Boom, off we went. Then
irony is that he was trying to be stealthy. That's why he's flying low and fast, right? And just right over the Border Patrol.
Right over the top of them. So,
Stealthy. It must have been very loud.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure he went, whoa, but what's he going to do?
Again, it's 1972.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing... no jets are going to get scrambled. Nothing's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, then after that, I went up over those tensions and get down on the deck again. And you go to, first thing kind of comes is the Salton Sea. Mexicali is off to the left and San Luis is off to the right. You can see them as you go by. And then comes the Salton Sea, and I went up a little to miss any pelicans or anything that might be on it. I'd hunted down there as a boy. And then comes the Banning Pass, then L.A. Basin. And we were taking it to a place up in the Central Valley by Taft. I didn't even know Taft was there at the time. It's called Elkhorn Valley. And about the time we get over L.A., I start looking at the fuel gauges. And they're getting real low. I spent all that time looking for them.
Oh, yeah.
See, I'd had it all figured out on the charts, but the time and
reality.
you only have so much fuel. And I'm looking at the gauges. Pete looked at them and said, "Did you top it off?" I said, "Yeah, the line boy did." And he looked at me like I was crazy. Like I didn't do it. Well, I don't. That's not the way you do it. The line boy does it. But anyway, we get the Gorman VOR. You turn left, and it's about 25 miles to Elkhorn Valley. It's just a little way. And we started up there, and everything worked pretty damn good. We got all the way to Elkhorn Valley. We had a guy up there with a van, and he just put 3 lights out by this little road that's in the middle of it. And Elkhorn Valley is a couple of miles long and close to a mile wide, and you can land a 747 there. Wow. And I came in. Oh, everything's cool. Yeah, we come in. I come in. Only trouble is it's absolutely flat. There's no rocks. There's no bushes. There's no gullies. There's nothing. So you have depth perception. You have to have this stuff. You're just looking at a gray thing in front of you. It's just gray. No depth perception. I came down in that airplane and did not flare it. I hit the ground. Probably the nose wheel hit first, then the main. We bounced 60 feet. I've said 100, but we didn't. We probably bounced 60 feet into the air. And I had to add power to keep from stalling. I did, came down real clean the second time, but the van and the guy that was there to pick it up, Jim, were right in front of us about, I don't know, 30, 40 yards in front of us. Man, I hit left rudder again and brake, and the plane snapped sideways, and we slid by the van sideways. The front and the back of the plane, the nose and the tail, went by the van at the same time.
My goodness.
Then kind of ended the valley, straightened it out, and there we were. He came up to us. We tossed the stuff.
Delivery made.
Yep. He came up to us. We tossed the 3 bags in the back, and off he went. He'd take them home. Pete would go get them at his house the next day. It gets better.
Wow. Okay. So this, I feel sorry for the next person that rented that same airplane, right?
Oh, no. It was me.
You kind of stretch it.
I'm sitting on the ground, but we're on 2 empty fuel tanks, and we're going to Bakersfield. It's figured it's about 20, 25 minutes away. Well, anyway, we can't sit out there forever, so we got in it. I put a light down at the end to keep me straight again, and I walked down there while we waited Jim to get away so we wouldn't put the lights of the plane and the lights of a car together, cause problems. So I waited till Jim was gone, went and put a light right down where I wanted to go, and Pete and I took off towards it, and I put little rocks over that light, and I flew 10 loads into there. This was being the first, and it's a 160-mile round trip, 170 miles. But every morning after I got back to Marina del Rey, when it got light, I get in my car and go all the way back up there and get that flashlight just to see if any tracks were there, anybody else had been there, and would get the light so no one would know I was there.
Yeah.
And it was always there, and there were never any tracks.
Amazing story. I got a technical question for Paul Kritz. Mm-hmm. I've heard Javier. Terry Lurcher, Jim, Pete. Do you have to hide these people's names? Technically,
we've gone through all of that. We've gone through a lot of that, and basically, we'll tell them what the thinking is as far as changing names.
Anybody that was good to me and never screwed me around, their names got changed. Anybody that screwed me around, their names stay the same.
Okay.
And there are lots, and I think Terry is one of them that we know just aren't alive anymore.
Right. And Pete Dupuy isn't alive anymore either.
Yeah, Pete was his partner. Yeah.
Let me get done with the first one.
Okay.
Finish, this is,
we take off.
You got a minute and a half. We got to take a break.
Okay, we got
it. We take off. We get it up. There's a 2,600-pound peak to a 2,600-foot peak to our right. It's what kind of forms Elkhorn Valley. We take off. I just get over that peak, and we're heading for Bakersfield. We can see the lights 20 minutes away, and the engine shuts off, out of fuel in one tank. I switch over the other tank, and the engine catches, and we start for those lights again. We flew for about a minute, and I happened to look down, and there was a green and white beacon right below me. I didn't know how much fuel we had. I was hoping we could make it. I said, Pete, we're going right there. Reached up and pulled the power back on that airplane. I didn't add power till we were on the ground. We taxied up to the end of the runway and looked up. On a hangar, there was a sign, Taft, California.
Oh, my.
And we were on the ground.
Oh, so red, green means there's
that's an airport.
Oh,
they all have a red and green beacon.
Oh.
Or white and green beacon.
Okay.
See? And there we were on the ground.
You made it back the first.
We made it back.
All right, we're going to take a quick station break here. Time flies when we're having fun. It's already that mid-break time on the Doc and Jacques live show, proudly broadcasting here from KCIW 100.7 FM studios in lovely coastal Brookings, Oregon. The list of major supporters for your community radio station are Advanced Airlines, flying in and out of Crescent City to Oakland and LA now 7 days a week. Michelle Ramos with our own vibrant local Curry County Chamber of Commerce. Nick and Lisa Rail, a big shout-out to you and their PPA, or the Partnership for the Performing Arts, and a new major supporter of community radio has just joined this team and is called Coastal Home Health and Hospice, serving Northern California and Southern Oregon, and of which Dr. Reed here is one of the doctors there. And lastly, my dear co-host, Dr. Reed, and yours truly, on behalf of KCIW, thanks to all of you. All right, we got to get back to this. This was the first
chapter. We're just only in the
You're
first.
writing it, Paul, with him. You're co-writing.
Yeah,
okay,
very
so
cool.
You're starting at this story. This is the story. It's like chapter 1.
This is the draft we settled on. Let Bobby finish this. We have one last
we're
thing.
Still in chapter
Okay,
1.
you got it.
Yeah.
Let's finish the chapter.
So we're in Taft. You're in Elkhorn Valley. Or no, Taft.
We're in Taft at the airport, and when we landed there, I came up there and I saw the number, and we shut the plane off, and it was quiet, real quiet. And I heard a dog barking. I just saw stuff I can remember 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And we tied the plane down. I looked up the street, and there was a motel sign. Hey, cool. So Pete and I went up there, got a motel room, called our girlfriend, said, we're cool, we'll be back in the morning. Went to sleep. We got up about 9:30 in the morning and walked back to the airport. And the office was open now, and there's some people around. I walked in the office and said, can I get some fuel for that guy? He said, oh, that's your bird out there. And I said, yes, it is. I said, we were up at Strawberry Valley in Utah, and I think I misjudged my fuel and saw we were getting low, so I thought we probably ought to set it down. He said, yeah, probably a good idea. He was right. Bakersfield, well, we had a Cessna 210 holds 90 gallons, 89 and a half usable. We put in 87.7 gallons into that airplane. We had 1.8 gallons left. You burn in 5 minutes, you burn a gallon. We had about 9 minutes left, and Bakersfield was 20 minutes away.
Oh, wow.
We wouldn't have made it.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. Would have crashed in the southern San Joaquin Valley, yeah.
Dang.
All in one night.
So, yeah.
Killed myself 4 times and made it.
So this
Stupid.
this is the first flight, right? And there are 12 more. And then after that, Bobby gets into sailing, trimarans with weed from Central America and from Mexico, and there's all sorts of stories just as exciting involved with that. And then after that, when he gets into commercial fishing, and then subsequently where it ends up with a bust that he does at the in the late 80s, that's a big one. And then after that, after some things go on and happen, then he decides to go to work for the government for a couple to try to get cocaine smugglers, right? So this is just the first story. And I'm sitting, and he tells me that first meeting, that in an hour he gives me kind of a quick through, and I'm like,
Sold.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, I will help. I will help you write this story. This is an amazing tale, and it has been. It's been remarkable.
So are you every one of his stories is another chapter? That's how you're writing?
Basically.
Great idea. To
Basically,
do that, right?
yeah.
Each story leads into another. It's fully written, the book?
It is. It is.
How many pages is it?
We've got now we're at 105,000 words. We had a first draft that was 144,000 words, and I went and cut all the back because Ruth Rhodes, I don't know if you know Ruth Rhodes, but Ruth Rhodes is a local author and teacher, and she said that 144, that's way too long. And I'm like, okay, thanks. I had no idea. I just wrote this story. And so we took chapters out dealing with like Bobby's childhood and time in the Navy, all of which are wildly interesting and fun and action-packed too, but they weren't focused on the smuggling. And so we honed it down to a book length, which is about 105,000 words. So yeah, it's done. It's done, and we're really happy with it. We have somebody, Bobby's niece, who is an editor up in Washington, who's going through and copy editing and helping us with other aspects of the proposals and things we have to do. Because you don't just write a book. You have to write a book and then you have to sell it.
Now, is this going to be picked up by a publisher, self-publishing? You're hoping.
We're hoping. Either way, right now, doing this, coming out and talking and involving the community, pushing the podcast, which is what we want to do, all of that, those are all things we'd have to do regardless. Cool. Whether we have an agent, find an agent and get a publishing deal, or have to self-publish too. You still have to do all of the marketing yourself. So we're just, doing that for now.
Very interesting. Now, just to clarify, Bobby, what we talked about before the show started, and that is that you never smuggled cocaine. It was strictly marijuana.
Never smuggled. Wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I went after him, and it's not exactly not dangerous going after those people.
Yeah, so give us a glimpse into that part that you were going to do some cocaine busting.
I had made connections in Panama, and when I went, finally when it was all over with, when I'd quit but hadn't gone to work for the government yet, I bought the last load I did was 1989. I made myself $850,000 and just said, screw it all. I got rid of the fishing boats and everything, bought myself a Kettenberg 41 and took off. And,
wow.
Yeah.
What's a catbird?
41-foot Kettenberg sloop.
The yacht.
Is it a
the
yacht?
boat. Yeah.
And that was it.
Well, I took off and went and bored myself to death. Selling wasn't what it was.
Who came up with the name, the one they couldn't catch?
Me.
You came up with that.
Yeah.
You felt perfectly good with that, Paul, right? Because you was always one step ahead of the...
And that's part of what comes out in the book and in the story as well, is after Bobby and Pete wrap up their flying, which takes about 6 months, then it's like December of 72, Bobby has plans with. This is also another part that got cut out of the book that is in the longer version of the book, which I hope to sell someday. But Bobby's living in the 60s in Marina del Rey, and that is just like the height of the sexual revolution. Here's these guys who
upscale place. Yeah.
It wasn't. It's not so much an upscale place at the time. It wasn't. It's people living on their yachts. It's a very interesting sort of place, and he was a young man there, so incredible stories having to do with that. But he and his girlfriend were going to take off on the boat Bobby was living on and sail the world with the pot money, and so they spend a lot of time in 1973, right after the flights end, getting ready to do that. The police start following Bobby in 1973.
He gets you're on their radar.
Yeah.
Pete put us there.
Yeah, his partner. And it involves cocaine.
See, there's the cocaine.
Big mouth.
Yeah.
Ah, boy.
And so Bobby later on sees documents and as part of a discovery for a lawsuit that his partner was trying to get money from the government for harassment and following him, and he's arrested and all of these things. But he sees these in these documents when an LAPD detective followed him from his boat in Marina del Rey at some point early in 1973 while he just ran some errand. He had a little refrigerator he was going to go get fixed. And here's this guy, this detective, following him all. And he's no longer a smuggler, right?
Pete or you? Bobby, are you being followed or Pete?
Bobby's being followed.
So the following was kind of not
So is
covert.
Pete like a
very
squeal?
Open, right?
Pete's a rat.
Tell him what Pete did.
You put it together what I think probably happened. A friend of mine, and he's in the book, Terry Smith, he died in 2018, I think. But anyway, he's been my lifelong friend, and he turned out to be a real loser. But he came to me after it was, I think, while we were still doing them. I'm not sure. No, it might have been afterwards. He came and he had 4 1-ounce cocaine, packages of cocaine. I'd never seen it before. This was, 1973. I didn't use that stuff. And he said, I get you $700 each. I don't know. So I called Pete. Terry was sitting right there. I said, hey, Pete, Terry's sitting here, and he's got these 4, packages of cocaine for $700. What should I do? And Pete said, I don't know. Just a second. He said, I'll call you back. So I hung up. I think he called David Arthur, who put the Satan slaves together. That was their bunch. He called him and said, what do you do? He said, buy it. So Pete called me back and said, give him the money. So I did. And for $2,800, I got these 4 little packs of cocaine. I didn't open them. I just took them out and gave them to Pete. And Pete called me the next day and said, come on out and get your money. So I gave him my $2,800 back and 1 ounce of this stuff. He got one, too, and David Arthur took the others. And they probably chopped it up and made a bunch of money on it. I don't know. But I tried it a little bit. I'd go run on the beach, but I only probably did it 3 or 4 times before I came back and slipped and fell and hurt my back so badly, and I blamed the coke for it. I slipped on the boat because I was not thinking, and I put it away, and I still had that ounce. 40 years later,
Sleep
I put
deprivation.
it away.
Sleep deprivation made you sleep.
No, what happened, I took the 1 ounce that Pete had, I think he used some of it, and then went out and told a old childhood friend of his who was a private detective in the San Fernando Valley. What a hot shot he was, and all this money he was making smuggling pot in an airplane and and how cool he was. And as soon as he left, the guy picked up the phone and called his connections at LAPD and said, hey, these are what these guys are doing. That's how it all got found out.
Oh, boy.
So that's how you got followed, and it was followed kind of obviously?
No, but the only reason I found out about it is looking at the discovery stuff that Pete wanted me to look at before I went to lie for him in federal court, which I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
But I saw it said he followed me out to the City of Industry, and that's when I took the refrigerator out there. I had to take it out there to have it fixed, and I don't know if it was the time I took it out or the time I brought it back, because I went twice. Yeah. But it said, it appears he lives on the sailboat.
And that was the first notice. And this is
They followed me back to my boat or from the boat.
Yeah.
It appears he lives on the sailboat.
So you were under surveillance
from 1993. The DEA was formed in 73. I was on there radar from the day they were formed. We smuggled in 72, and all this came up in 73.
So you did air, boat, car.
Nah, just air and boat.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you didn't personally ever take anything?
Oh, no.
Okay.
In a car?
No, or just on person. Okay, so those two.
Muling.
What was your favorite way to do it? Was it by air or by yacht?
I don't know if there's
I
a
think
favorite way you make more money with the boat because you can take more pop. You want it truthfully, that's it.
Good point. Good point. Take a whole lot more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the sailboat will hold 3,000 kilos. We could put 175 kilos in the back of an airplane. You got to make a lot of trips to make that 3,000 kilos.
Now, you were on the water carrying that much sometimes. And
I wasn't. I was the one that put it on and took it off and got rid of it. I had guys sail it for me. You can't do it all.
Right.
And you know what? The hard part is the part I did. Sailing it, you go out in the middle of the ocean, bring it in, unload it. It's not that hard to do.
Right.
It's the other stuff that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're carrying in vans and everything like
Well,
Just
managing all
getting
the people.
Just getting
Managing the
connections in
people.
Latin America. You got to go down and get those guys.
Yeah.
And you got to be smart.
Right. This is a day before the pagers might have been around that. No, even
Pagers didn't come
well,
till the 90s.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, my.
Nothing.
I had a pager when I was working
No.
for the DEA.
Well, tell
That's
us
the
about
first-
that.
What?
Tell us about the DEA part. When you worked there. I mean, that's quite the jump,
I could
right?
sit here and denigrate them and love to do it for the rest of this show. I've never seen so many unethical, stupid, childish people in one place in my entire life.
Oh, okay. Good synopsis.
Cowardly and
Stuff.
I mean, I get these guys promoted. When I started working for the DEA, the first deal I did busted 7,242 pounds of pot. And
So you worked for them to bust other...
no, the guy called me and said, "You want to do this? Want to unload this?" The guy that screwed me around a number of times. So this is a game too. Yes, this is a game too. And as he will talk, I come out of the mountains of Kentucky. Payback is a real part of my life. I come of a family of feudists out of the feuds of Kentucky.
Oh, my goodness.
And you screw me, one day you'll deal with me again.
Wow.
And the guys that really screwed me, I put them both in prison.
Wow.
And
was that
happy about it.
Yeah, so they knew you were an expert in the field, basically. They knew you had the connections, right?
Yeah.
So they approached you, or did you go?
I went to them. I brought them the case.
But were you trying to get a penalty? Were you caught at that point and said, "Hey, I'll tell you"?
No,
you just
I was never caught. I walked in and said, "I want to go to work for you guys."
the one they couldn't catch. Yeah.
And they said it took them 4 minutes to hire me. From the time I gave a DEA agent, Dave DeVore, my driver's license in the field office in Goleta until the time I was signing papers going to work for him was 4 minutes.
Dang.
This was 20 years after they started following him in 1973.
4 minutes.
And they knew who he was.
Oh, wow.
They still knew who he was. Yeah.
The customs agent that actually the DEA wasn't chasing me. It was the customs. Customs are a whole lot smarter than the DEA are. I have nothing but respect for customs. I would have loved to go to work for them. Just customs. Take the DEA and bingo. I mean, customs are smart, they're cunning, and they worried about my well-being. DEA said we were expendable.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. It was.
cause.
He ends up working with a customs agent who was who was trying to catch him
For 20 years.
Oh, my
actually. Yeah.
gosh.
And I
that's
liked the
cool.
guy, and he liked me.
Yeah, they got along.
Oh, my
Why
goodness.
don't you know it?
And the reason I walked away from it all, he would have been tarred with offering me money to do something. They offered me. There's too much here to get into right now. We'll get into it later. It's in the book, but
Yeah, it is in the
It's
book,
in
and he
the
didn't.
book. Okay,
Bobby
yeah.
didn't want to leave this guy holding the bag.
holding the
Yeah.
bag, and they would have flown right on him, and I wasn't going to do it. So I ate $44,000, which cost me probably $200,000 or $300,000 because I had to sell a boat to pay for it, and then they bought the boats back. But whatever. I mean, it's part of life.
Wow.
So you
Quite-
got out at the right time, 93, right? I was saying 9/11 happened. Everything seemed to change
Yes.
at the early 2000s, right? And so you were out at the right time. Now you're reflecting on it. You're kicking back and saying, yeah, I do this. Paul's writing the book with you. And What a tale! I mean, you just that first story you tell is full of danger and risk. What was another phenomenal chapter that one of you two can talk about that you got to say?
Which one?
Can I go?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was one because we developed this really good method for doing what we do is that we sat down and I record basically an hour and a half sessions of him telling the story and taking me through it. And we did one pass through his life all the way up to now. And then I went, okay, I kind of have an overview now. Let's go back through it again. And this time a little more directed. Let's record. I'll start thinking about what should be chapters, and we'll record specifically for chapters. And so we got into the book a little bit and then changed it up again and went back and wrote that first chapter, which is the story of the first flight, just to sort of be exciting at the beginning and get everybody into the book. My favorite chapter is El Salvador.
That's what, chapter 8?
I forget what number it is. It's at a point where Bobby has gone south, and what happens after that first round of flights in 1973. 1973, that's also my another favorite chapter because nothing happens in that, but it's a beautiful chapter. He's his girlfriend Monique, who's a 19, 20-year-old Egyptian girl who is just beautiful and really cool, and they're living on the yacht together. They're spending time. Serenade is the name of the boat. They're spending time on Serenade out in the Channel Islands, fishing swordfish, and they stayed out for a whole month in 1970, the summer of 73, doing that. Just the two of them living on this boat. It sounds so romantic and beautiful, and it's wonderful. They're getting ready to sail off and to go someplace farther afield, and Bobby works up another couple of flights with some other people, not involving Pete, although by this point, he and Pete own the airplane. They started out renting for the first few flights. And then when they made enough money, Pete bought them an airplane. And so they have this airplane they sort of own together. And Bobby wants to use it on these other flights, and he's offering Pete money. And there's things come up, and Pete's sort of around, not around. Bobby's trying to get with Pete at some point, and he sees some things that are out of the ordinary with the plane one night, right before he goes on these flights. And it makes him kind of, that's really strange. Like, Pete's gone, the plane's gone, Pete's van is here, and it's been messed with. What's going on? He goes home. That night he gets a call from the guy who used to pick up, who used to move their weed. He gets a call, and all he says on the phone is, Pete's been arrested in Mexico. They know everything. Yeah. Good luck.
Yep. Hangs up.
Ooh,
so,
yeah,
exactly.
That's the end of it. That's the end of the 1973 chapter. Bobby and Monique take off. They end up going through Central America, South America a little bit, in Central America, settling for a time in Costa Rica. All sorts of other things ensue. And then down the road, as Bobby is coming back up, right? Yeah, you're coming back up. There's a boat that he and Pete had thought about buying at one point in 72 or 3.
Yeah,
I forget. 73 when you guys went down before he was arrested. It was a boat. It's owned by a fella in El Salvador, and this guy is a rich guy. He's one of the ruling clique.
14 leading families.
They were all descended from the conquistadors, right? And so he's a rich guy, and he's got this boat, this old classic 1930s schooner he wants to sell. Wow. Bobby and Pete are thinking about buying it just to flip it. It's not a smuggling thing or anything. So Pete says, well, you're coming back up. I think you're coming back up with Anya, right? The trimaran?
Yeah.
Sailing back up with he and another couple of guys. Why don't you stop in El Salvador and check out and see if this boat is still available? Do you want to take it from there? Because this is an amazing story. I don't know. We've got, 10 minutes left?
We've got 10 minutes. We got 10 full minutes.
Okay. We got to El Salvador. Where do you want
Okay, so they're in El Salvador. The boat's there. The guy who owns the boat,
Jimmy Ruiz.
I couldn't remember his name. Right. Jimmy Ruiz kind of like lets them. He gives them a car to drive around and lets them hang out. Right.
We're in Salvador. The first time we get there, I went to La Union, and I sat there for about a week. Billy had to do something 5 days, and sat through a norte. A lot of wind coming across the Gulf of Fonseca. But once he got down, we went up to the central part of the country, La Libertad, and checked in there and went in, and everything was fine. Then we went back out to the boat from the pier where the Army was, and then jumped in our boat and went to the beach to go to a restaurant. And man, we're looking at guns when we came in there, right there, all pointing guns at us. Come with us. You didn't come back on the pier. Well, we didn't know that. I mean, come on, Rick, don't be ridiculous. Well, anyway, they took us to a place right by the end of the pier. And, I mean, one guy that was holding an M1 carbine on me, an M130 caliber carbine, ejected a shell, picked it up off the ground, about the distance we are now, 7 feet or so, looked at it, and then looked at me and grinned. The bullet that was in his chamber. I mean, really. Wow. And then I said, you don't know John Jaime Ruiz? And they all went, huh?
Because of that, you...
Do you have his phone numero de teléfono de Don Jaime Ruiz? Boom, boom, boom. Calls him. Hi, Jimmy, it's Bob Brewer. Wow, where are you? Down La Libertad. I'll be there in an hour. Bing, things sure changed. He got down there. Everybody knows he is one of the leading families, one of the wealthy men in the country. Dang. He gets down there, and oh boy, all of a sudden we were the guys. And we stayed a day, and a couple of days later we took, I talked to Jimmy about the boat. And he said, I said, how about 20 grand? We'd offer him 16 the first time. We'd been down there a couple of years earlier, and he had turned us down. I said, how about 20 grand? He thought for a second and said, I'll sell it to you for 20 grand. I said, you just sold your boat. That quick. And so the next day, he and his friend Leo, who had a department store, 6th-floor department store with a big restaurant on top and everything, downtown San Salvador, we sat up there and watched the demonstrations down below. I never knew at all these were the rich guys I was hanging out with, and they were nice guys. They were the only really wealthy people I saw that didn't carry guns. Huh. I mean, they didn't. And I saw the men at Proms SA, his business. They really liked him. You could tell. You can tell when people like somebody. They thought very highly of Jimmy, and I'm sure they should have. They were good guys. But then we took the boat down to where his beach house was, just north of where the Limpa River comes in. There's an estero there. And we parked Anya, my trimaran, right by it, and then we had to wait for Pete to come down with the money, and we were there for a little over a month. A month and a half or so.
Had Pete gone bad at this point?
No, Pete was up. He had gotten out of jail. He had beat the rap in Mexico. He was found not guilty.
Oh my God!
And gotten out of jail.
We're all looking at each other, going, "Whoa, wait a minute!"
Yeah, no, he was out of jail. He spent 17 months sleeping on a cement floor, and it hurt his for the rest of his life. His health suffered somewhat from it.
Wow!
Whoa.
But they got him out, not guilty, and sent him home.
Dang.
Right. And that's why he wanted to sue them all. But anyway, we got up to El Sal. We took the boat down to this place by the Limpa River at Jimmy's house. It's on the Costa del Sol. And we spent a month and a half there, a little over.
Waiting for Pete.
Waiting for him to come get the money together and come down to get with some guys to pick up the boat. Then I'd sail my boat back, and he sailed. And that's what we did. But it's in the book. And while we were there, I met a girl. She blew me off, took up with my kid that was with me, until she was about to leave and came up and said, listen, I made a mistake. And basically what she said, you and I probably get along really good. She's a beautiful woman. She could have anybody she wanted, and she was picking me, and I said, you bet. And she said she wanted to give it a shot with me. I said, okay. And I said, she gave me her phone number in Missoula, Montana.
Missoula, Montana, the university town. Okay.
No, I think... She wasn't there from the university. Right. But she gave in, and she said, I will be at this number, or somebody will be at this number that knows where I am. And I said, okay. In fact, she said, I think we'd get along. After she blew me off, I mean, we were kind of getting along. It was time to go to bed. She crawled into my buddy and just flat blew me off. And this is 10 days or so later. I saw her look at me a few times, caught her looking at me. And she came up and said, listen, I made a mistake. I'd like...
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Okay, what happened to Monique?
Monique had dumped me.
Monique was gone by this point, yeah.
She left me because he hit it right on the button. I couldn't understand. She was scared for both of us, and I'm dumb enough not to be afraid of stuff. And she was, and I don't blame her for leaving. I loved her dearly. I love her today. But she had every right to leave, and I don't blame her for doing it.
Yeah.
So you called the Missoula, Montana number?
She gave me her phone number, and after she gave it to me, I said, okay, I put it in my pocket, and I said, I want to get something straight. You want to try being together, you and me together. And she didn't say yes. She just kind of, like a little girl, wanting something. Mm-hmm. You understand? She kind of... Mm-hmm. She didn't say anything. I said, okay. I didn't kiss her. I could have. I could take her in my arms right then. Put my hand out and said, you got a deal. She looked at me, took my hand. We looked, shook on it. We were going to give it a shot. And she said, when you're done, call me. I said, okay. And when I got done, I called her.
How long was the period of this time?
Just a little less than a year.
Okay. Finally got the gumption up and called her in Missoula, and somebody answered.
No one answered. They never answered. The phone rang and rang and rang and rang. I called her every day for 3 weeks and skied with the Aspen Highlands Ski Patrol, and they helped me. They snorted up all that coke I had for the last few years. I took it with me, and those guys went through it like that.
Whatever happened? Why would she have disappeared?
I called her I called her every day for 3 weeks. A number of times, some days it just rang. So I went home. About a month later, I called, and a voice said, "This number is no longer in use." And she was gone. And I thought, maybe it's bullshit, whatever. Okay, it's one of those things in life. 14 years later.
No.
I'm in Cabo San Lucas. After it was all over with, I was done. I hadn't joined the government yet, but I'd done my last deal. I cleared $850,000. I had money I had enough for the rest of my life. Go sailing. I was done. I was leaving. I'm sitting in Cabo San Lucas. There was a little marina they had put in there. That was the first time they put a marina in there. I was kind of just living there. And I walked over by a hotel about quarter of a mile away, on the beach one day, just nothing to do. So I got my swimming stuff on, went over there and just lay on the beach. These two women, a little younger than I was probably, they sat down about 25 feet from me, 20 feet from me. And after a few minutes, I just said, "Where are you girls from?" And this girl said, "Missoula, Montana."
Oh, my goodness.
And I said, "You wouldn't have no Judy Vito, would you?" And she stopped, she took it and looked at me and said, "She was my best friend. She died of a massive heart attack at 32.
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Lady, you just blew my mind."
Oh, wow.
I said, "I was in Aspen. I called. I was coming to get her. We'd met in El Salvador." She said, "Yeah, I remember when she got back from El Salvador. She was pregnant. She had a little red-haired boy, Billy's kid. I'd raised that kid."
Wow, that's the twist right there. Amazing.
Oh,
So
my
Billy,
God. Okay, more goosebumps.
All right,
Jeez.
All right.
And that kind of stuff happened all the time in his life.
Wow.
So
Bobby Brewer and Paul Kritz. Listen, we got to take this to the next interview, another time, another conversation down the road a bit. We've got to close it out right now. Thank you.
If I may, just one more hit of the podcast.
Yeah, what is it?
Find us on all the major aggregators. We are all over out there. It's The One They Couldn't Catch.
The One They Couldn't Catch, and there's a podcast.
That's the podcast.
Got everything set.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Very cool.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Been listening to the Doc and Jacques show on KCIW 100.7 FM in Brookings, Oregon. We hope you enjoyed the show as much as we have. Learned about Bobby Brewer and Paul Kritz and the introduction of The One They Couldn't Catch.
Right. And peace and prosperity to everyone out there. Thanks again, Tony and Ray and all the other people here at the KCIW family. What's up next, Doc?
Tony Durso.
Tony Durso Show is up next here on KCIW. We'll catch you next week, gentlemen. We can't wait to talk to you again.
Yes, thank you. It was so
Thank you, guys. Thanks for
interesting.
having
me. Thank you.
Goosebumps all over.
Really appreciate it.
Cool.
Thanks to Doc Reed and Jacques Kepner and the good people at KCIW for having Bobby and me on. We're hoping to get back on sometime this summer and tell more of Bobby's stories. In our next episode, we resume the narrative with Bobby and Monique and the magical summer of 1973.
And the seagull, you had a seagull?
Yeah, we had a seagull. And at first it sat out the end of the Avon dinghy that we took with us. It's a lifeboat and offshore boat and everything else. It's real easy. Pick it up, they're light.
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
But we'd have just sitting out behind the boat. And I was cleaning a fish, and the seagull came down and landed on the end of it. Yeah, I think some tossed out there. Whoop, he ate it. Okay. And thinking much more about it, and I might have given him a couple of them, put the fish away. Next night, we pulled back in again, and there's a seagull. And so we may not have had a fish that day or something, but I know it may have given it something to eat. I'm sure it did, because after that week, he was sitting on the back of the boat. First it was on the Avon, and then he moved up to the front of the Avon, and then boom, he's on the back of the boat, see? And after the second trip, he was sitting in the doorway, and she's feeding him, cooking dinner.
That's wonderful.
He was probably bummed when we finally didn't. And we'd disappear for a couple of days. We'd be back, and boop, there he'd be.
Oh, man.
He knew what side his bread was buttered on. No kidding.
That's next time on The One They Couldn't Catch. I'm Paul Kritz.